What's going on, everybody? I hope you're having an amazing day, and I hope you have an amazing weekend. But before you do so, I want to talk about Syria, what Trump said as the future plans for the United States military in Syria, and the untold story of Syria, the country. They've gone through a civil war. They've had terrorist groups fighting them, shooting missiles into their cities and even capturing their cities. And for some reason, the mainstream media doesn't want to tell this story. It's a very big deal, especially if you like peace and world peace and you care about women and children not getting slaughtered. Things that everybody definitely should care about, but there's a lot of social justice warriors and activists, for some reason, who don't care about women and children getting slaughtered. So here we are to talk about it, to try to save some lives and get a true discussion that the mainstream media won't talk about, which is Trump and Syria and the true story behind it. Let's wait about a minute for everybody to get into the live stream. Thank you so much for joining. I'm so grateful. Thank you for supporting and joining. Thank you everybody who shared my last video, which was, teenagers don't decide our politics. They're allowed to have their opinion. They're allowed to rally manufactured marches. They're allowed to lie on TV. They're allowed to curse. They're allowed to make up facts and talk about Syria like I am and completely lie about it. They're allowed to do that, but we're also allowed to debate it. The First and Second Amendment don't get swiped away just because a bunch of little bratty kids, decide to be mainstream media heroes, and they never talk to the kids in Los Angeles or Flint, Michigan, or New York City or Detroit or Camden or anywhere. So it's like three little suburban kids get elected gods, and everyone else's opinion, I guess, is irrelevant, and we take away the first two amendments. Unfortunately, for them, that's not how the United States works or the world works, and, that's kind of a side note, just stalling while people get in. I want to talk about Syria. Very, very important. I actually have a friend out in Syria. His name is Trekka. I've shared a lot of his videos through my World Cloud page, and he's, a superstar in his own right, multi-millions of views, comedian, legend, truth teller, my brother from another mother, my Syrian twin, who kind of looks like me, to be honest. It's like my soul brother from Syria. And there's a big story going on in Syria. It's been going on for years, especially over the last year, and the mainstream media hasn't talking about it. So before I get into what Trump said, we'll just talk about that first. Trump wants to leave Syria. He says, roughly, he said, we got to get out of Syria. We're going to get out of Syria soon. We're going to leave it, and we're going to let them figure out their own thing. The media never talked about this. This is one of the big draws to President Trump that got him a lot of support from Green Party voters. They got him a lot of Bernie Sanders voters support. They got him a lot of environmentalists and Middle East activists. There's a lot of people in Lebanon and a lot of women and, a lot of men who pay attention to the foreign policy, unlike a lot of people who close their eyes and they listen to what the tech companies say. They're like, oh, well, Facebook told me that I should abolish the Constitution and fund terrorists. And people are like, yeah, that totally makes you a good person. No, it doesn't. They lied to you. But what I'm saying is, this is what Trump campaigned on. In the mainstream media, they had a narrative. They said Trump is racist, sexist, xenophobic, and anybody who likes Trump, there's no possible way that they could like him for any other reason. Total lie, total fabrication, regardless of what you think about him or his rhetoric. A huge draw to President Trump is he was telling the truth about the Middle East the entire election period. And during the debates, he said, Iraq was a mess. You killed, Saddam Hussein and left a power vacuum. He said, Libya is a mess. You killed the leader of Libya and you literally left a power vacuum for extremist terrorists to take over and turn it into a hellhole. He was totally right. So the media never talks about it. Facebook never talks about it. Twitter never talks about it. These fake, phony social justice warriors who hide behind little kids and they hide behind tragedies and they push out little kids in front of them like meat shields and say, if you attack me, you're attacking the kids. The cowards and fraudulent tech companies and the phony fake news media, they never talked about this. They never told you that this was a huge draw to President Trump, but it totally was. And what he said during the election, during the debates, is he said, I don't want to continue fighting Syria. It didn't work in Iraq. It didn't work in Libya. And it's not going to work in Syria. So let's not kill the leader. Because before anyone paid attention, whether you love Trump or hate Trump, even if you hate Trump, Now you're paying attention. All of a sudden people are like, whoa, oh my God, something's crazy. President Trump is the pinnacle of all evil. And if we get rid of Trump, it's going to be fine. At least you're paying attention now, because when you weren't paying attention, we went to Iraq and killed the leader. We went to Libya and killed the leader. And we were trying to kill the leader of Syria and say that we are spreading democracy. And whether you are a Democrat or Republican, a Green Party, left-leaning, right-leaning, I think there's one thing, if you're an honest person and not a complete fraudulent liar, that we can all agree on. We don't need to spread democracy. We barely have it here. And every time we go to another country and say, we're spreading democracy, we don't actually spread democracy. Wake up, dummies. George Bush didn't spread democracy like he said he was going to. Barack Obama certainly didn't spread democracy and no one paid attention. So we don't need to spread democracy. Our idea of spreading democracy is influencing elections. We talk about Russia. Oh, they used Facebook. We've influenced 30 plus elections. We've killed literal leaders, just armed rebels in multiple countries. So we don't need to spread democracy, and we don't spread democracy. We spread the worst ideology on the planet, and we fund rebels who end up empowering terrorist organizations. So it's a huge deal. I talk to people who are left-leaning, who are just like, just pay attention to the news, and they're like, oh, I don't care about women and children getting slaughtered. I care about Stormy Daniels. I was like, okay, well, as long as you admit you're a terrible person, then we both know. I know you're a terrible person. You know you're a terrible person. As long as you admit it and don't pretend like you're this great person. But anyway, this was happening in Syria, and it's very upsetting to me because I have friends out there, and I have friends that have family out there. And Syria is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It's a beautiful, beautiful city. They're very religiously tolerant. They don't care if you're Christian. They don't care if you're Muslim. They just don't want you bombing each other and killing each other. They're fine. The UN and whoever, Reuters and, the mainstream cabal of whoever decides, they say something and everyone just takes it as truth. They said that President Bashar al-Assad of Syria used chemical weapons on his people, so we had to come through and spread democracy. But pretty much everybody in Syria that I've spoken to, every journalist that actually has integrity and isn't a complete liar that went to Syria, pretty much everyone besides the mainstream media, the same mainstream media that lies about Trump because they don't want him to make peace in the Middle East, they don't want him to make peace in North Korea, they don't want him to make America great again, they don't want him to do anything positive. They told everybody, oh, it's chemical weapons. But everybody I talked to in Syria said, no. It's the United States. It's all these other countries that are actually funding rebels who are killing our government leaders. They were killing our government army. We like Bashar al-Assad. Everyone in Syria says, we like our president. Just leave us alone. And during the Obama administration, ISIS and Al-Qaeda and Al-Nusra, terrorist organizations, especially in Syria and Iraq, they started taking over entire cities. They took over eastern Ghouta. They took over Damascus at a certain point. They took over multiple cities in Iraq. So when President Trump was talking about the travel ban, hey, let's wait a year because we don't know who these people are, the media said, oh my God, it's racist and xenophobic. Oh, whoa, President Trump has a brain, and that's so threatening to our complete fake news. What he meant was, ISIS and Al-Qaeda, these terrorist organizations, they were taking over entire cities. So you don't have a passport agency. It's taken over by terrorists. You don't have a flow like a steady airport. So it makes complete sense. It always made complete sense. They lie like they do about everything. But point being, once President Trump got into office, he's already helping fix Syria. This is barely reported. It was misreported and underreported simultaneously. There was a $1 billion program by one of the ABC intelligence communities. You could look it up yourself, figure out which one it was. They had a $1 billion program to fund rebels in Syria. So we were spending billions of your taxpayer dollars. We're going to rebels. And everybody I talk to in Syria says, hey, they're not rebels. They're not spreading democracy. They're killing our government. It's like if they were funding terrorists in the United States, which is not that far out of the realm for these people. So when they organize these marches and stuff, people are like, oh, how dare you question it? This is what they do for a living when they don't get their puppet president. They start funding people to try to overthrow the government. Sound familiar? Washington Post, Democracy Dies in Darkness, all of these phony marches that have absolutely no logic or facts to them. So we were funding rebels and they were destroying the Middle East. They were either terrorists directly, or they were losing their weapons and money to terrorists, collaborating with terrorists one way or another. There's multiple people on paper, on CNN, people like Democratic Congresswoman, a Democrat, Tulsi Gabbard from Hawaii, who said, our taxpayer dollars, the rebels, are going directly to terrorist organizations. So President Trump, I believe in about August of 2017, you can check it out, he stopped that $1 billion secret program of funding rebels. And what do you know? As soon as President Trump gets into office, ISIS and Al-Qaeda, they completely almost disappeared. I'm talking to my friend from Syria today. I said, how's it looking? He said, Eastern Ghouta is almost cleared. Damascus is cleared. ISIS and Al-Qaeda and all these terrorist groups, they don't exist anymore. It's not a coincidence, people. And the people that don't want to give President Trump credit for this are so foolish. I understand it's a sports game. I understand you have emotions, that you don't want to credit President Trump for anything. You have an ego, or you're stubborn, or you're a liar. I don't know what it is, but it's embarrassing, in my personal thoughts, that they're not giving President Trump this credit, because ISIS doesn't have an air force. ISIS didn't have a navy. We have multiple billion dollar, trillion dollar budget for our military. Do you really think, in the age of technology where Facebook has all of your data, they can track your location on pretty much anyone's cell phone at any time, you think that they were having trouble with these terrorist organizations? Like, oh, we don't know how to defeat ISIS. They're rampantly growing and we don't know how to get rid of them. It's very, very hard to believe, and that's what was happening under Obama. ISIS was spreading, and they were taking over large parts of Syria. So President Trump gets in, he sees video footage of women and children getting slaughtered, like people have tried to tell you for 5 years, but nobody cares. They're like, well, we got to watch this fake movie and fake script and watch these fake news shows and, talk about porn stars because we don't actually care about women and children getting slaughtered. That's fine. I guess, priorities will be priorities. But President Trump, according to, reports, saw videos of them slaughtering and beheading people, and were like, hey, we're not going to be funding these people anymore. So last year, he cut the funding of the $1 billion program. That's not my theory. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's a fact. It's in all of the mainstream publications. But of course, they had to spin it and say, Trump's working with Putin. How dare him go against the intelligence communities? How dare President Trump not want to fund terrorists? What a bad person for trying to defeat terrorist groups instead of funding them and empowering them and letting them destroy and kill leaders and kill and displace millions of children and women and innocent men. What a horrible guy for not trying to destroy the Middle East. So that's how the news, spun it. And everybody, they're such followers, they're such sheep that, they take it for gospel. They already think it's this video game reality show where they're like, everything that President Trump does is bad, and I believe the New York Times and Washington Post no matter what they say. Whatever. Point being, President Trump defunded the $1 billion secret program last year. That's why the terrorist organizations have been defeated, because Syria is getting helped by Russia as well. They came in and stopped the United States from pretty much funding terrorists, and Trump campaigned on this. So the fact that he's saying we're going to leave Syria, this is another huge win for President Trump. All he's doing is winning. Like I said, I say it all the time just to let people know, to have a more open mind and feel like, oh, well, he's not just a sycophant or whatever. I didn't even vote for him. I wish I did now, but I didn't vote for him because I didn't know that he was going to be the real deal. He is the real deal. He cut the funding. He let terrorists get destroyed, and that's what he campaigned on. He's the only president who's ever actually done what he said he's going to do. And his idea was to work with Vladimir Putin to defeat ISIS. So the fact that the media makes this big deal and wants to start World War III with Russia instead of let President Trump get along, don't you notice? They don't want President Trump to get along with Putin. They don't want President Trump to leave Syria alone. They don't want President Trump to make peace talks with North Korea, Kim Jong-un. It's not that hard, folks. Kim Jong-un loves America. He loves basketball. He probably wants to eat a hot dog and watch the Bulls and just not get killed, because that's what the U.S. does. They just go around and kill people. So he's like, yo, I want to talk to Obama. I want to talk to Trump. No one would talk to him. Kim Jong-un's going to be wearing a Make America Great Again hat next month, probably, because he loves America. We've been manipulated. We've been lied to. And this happened in Syria as well, folks. So President Trump's doing what he said he was going to do. During the debates, he said, here's a crazy idea. Let's get along with Putin. Let's destroy ISIS. And let's leave Syria the F alone. And Hillary Clinton was like, no, let's kill the leader of Syria like I killed the leader of Libya, even though that there's slave trade and organ harvesting in Libya, and I literally empowered extremists and democracy never happened in Libya, and it's, way worse off than when I came. Let's kill the leader of Syria. And her brilliant idea was, if they don't let me kill the leader of Syria and Russia starts interfering, I'm going to shoot down Russian aircrafts. Oh, brilliant idea. So not only are you going to kill the leader of Syria, now you're going to start shooting down Russian aircrafts and try to start World War III with Russia. This is not a game, folks. This is not my opinion, folks. This is not a theory. This is what she said. This is what happened during the debates. So now fast forward a year and a half, President Trump cut the funding. That's all they needed to do. Where was ISIS and Al-Qaeda getting all this funding and weaponry from? Your taxpayer dollars, people. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. So as soon as their funding got cut, they got defeated by Syria and Russia. They kicked them out naturally because it's not hard. It's not that hard to get rid of these terror groups unless there's other countries like the United States and Saudi Arabia and who knows, Israel, Turkey. Everyone gets involved. Iran sometimes, throwing them a little bit of money on the low. So Trump knew this stuff. I mean, this is what he campaigned on. This is what people didn't think he was going to do. And he actually did it. I have friends in Syria. I spoke to them earlier today just to make sure my facts were on point. And Syria's better than ever. Damascus is now a free city. A month ago, they were shooting rockets into Damascus trying to kill people. And the terrorists are almost all the way flooded out. So President Trump said yesterday or 2 days ago, he said, we're going to be leaving Syria very, very soon. He's like, we defeated the caliphate or whatever you want to call it, the extremists who were trying to, enslave everybody. He's like, it's almost all defeated. And it's not a coincidence. It's not a buildup of the 8 years of Obama, because during Obama, it wasn't going down. They were gaining traction. How do you gain traction, folks, when we have the biggest military in the world with an air force that no one's ever seen before and a navy that no one's ever seen before fighting against a bunch of people who behead people? They don't even have these big weapons that we talk about. We were getting lied to. And it's so embarrassing to me. It's so pathetic to me that people who don't like President Trump have to spin it in their heads and be like, oh, no, he didn't do it. There's no way he's going to do it because it was Obama. It was all built. No, they were funding them. They were giving them weapons and money. He cut the program. President Trump cut the program, whether it was directly going to terrorists or they were getting the money stolen from rebels and terrorists. That I'm not going to tell you, and that I'm not going to say, because I'll probably get demonized for telling too much of the truth, but whatever. Those are the sources that I've spoken to. Tulsi Gabbard, people in Syria, they say either the rebels were literally terrorists themselves. What do you think happens when you fund a bunch of people, even if they're not ISIS and Al-Qaeda? What do you think happens when they just kill the leader and a government? You think it's that easy to just install a new government? Especially in Syria, it's not a bad place. They celebrate Christmas. They celebrate, the Muslim holiday. They celebrate whatever. They don't care. They're one of the most religiously tolerant places in the Middle East. It's a nice place. It's beautiful. It looks just like a city in the United States, if not nicer, when it's not getting bombed by terrorists. So this idea that we're going to help, it never happened. And this is another huge win for Trump if he actually does pull out, because you could read all the sources, you could read Reuters, you could read all the mainstream media, left or right, and pretty much all of the sources are like, he's going against all of his advisors. His new guy, Bolton or whatever, he doesn't want him to do that. The leaders of the intelligence committee, they probably don't want him to do that. No one else. He's the real deal. It's so sad to me that people don't support this guy because, first of all, he's the most liberal Republican we could ever have. He's not even a conservative. He's not even really a Republican. He's just a common sense guy who makes plays on the spot and does the right thing all the time. He's doing godly stuff. That's why the religious people, the Christian community, and many others are so happy, because his godlike energy, not to boast it up a little bit, he's doing things that are unfathomable. He's going against every advisor, and he's literally saving lives in Syria. Hundreds of thousands of refugees. Here's another fun Google for you that they misreported or underreported. Last year, hundreds of thousands of refugees went back to Syria because guess what, people? When you stop funding rebels in their countries, We don't have a refugee crisis. So they create the refugee crisis, they mix in refugees with terrorists, and then they ship them off to Germany and Sweden, the United States and Canada, and say, you're a racist, sexist, xenophobe if you don't want these people. They create the problem, and then they create the solution. This is classic evil tactics, people. You create the problem, and then, oh, I have the solution. I have the cure. I have the remedy. You need terrorists. You need terrorists. You need terrorists. I'm not saying all refugees are terrorists, but I'm saying there were a lot of terrorists mixed in with the refugees, and there doesn't have to be refugees. It's not like, oh, we're going to kill them and then we're going to save them. It's like, no, just leave them alone, and we don't have a refugee crisis. People have their own countries, and, we have our own laws. That's why it's not a big deal. Okay, we have a border because we're this country, you're that country. You live there, we live here. Some of you come here, we go there on vacation, or you could move to Mexico and live there. But it's not like a free-for-all where people just run around the world and live wherever they want. I mean, that's never how it's worked. It's just not, it's not a big deal. It's not racist, it's not sexist, it's not xenophobic. It's why Israel has a wall. It's why, Mexico has a southern border wall. It's just how things work. It's same way, you separate houses and apartments. You don't just live in the middle of someone else and go back and forth between their stuff. But anyway, this is revolutionary. He's doing the unfathomable. He's literally about to have a peace talk with Kim Jong-un. It's a wrap, I'm telling you. I've said this multiple times. People laughed at me. People say, how dare you talk about Kim Jong-un like that? He's a terrible, savage person. I am going to be in North Korea in 2024, and I'm going to play basketball there, and I'm going to get along with Kim Jong-un. I'm going to have a really great time with the North Koreans. That's just where I see myself in 2024, and everybody laughed at me, but it's not that funny. I'm not kidding. I have a mean crossover, and I can even dunk. I'm just saying, that's what I do. My 3-ball is pretty on, and I'm taking my game to North Korea in 2024, between 2024 and 2030, because it's not out of the realm. President Trump is going to get along with Kim Jong-un. Kim Jong-un loves America. He loves President Trump. It's going to be a great time. It's just we've been lied to, we've been deceived by the media, and we're always getting divided. So you put President Trump in there, he makes a power move in North Korea, now we're going to be cool with North Korea. He made a power move in Syria and saved millions of lives. Why does the television not care? Because they don't actually care about anything. And these fake news, little media-generated 17-year-olds that they keep flossing around, they're even lying about Syria. They're like, let's kill more women and children in Syria. And then people are like, don't you dare question the 17-year-old kids who want to get millions of women and children slaughtered. Let them slaughter children because they're little brats. No. That's not, they're liars. They're lying about Syria. They're lying about the United States. I don't care who they are. I don't care if they're 17 years old or 700 years old. If you're 700 years old, I'll probably listen a little more because you probably have immense wisdom that I need to take in. So I take that back. But in Syria, this is a revolutionary play. And I'm happy because Syria deserves this, just like every country deserves this. And we are inching closer to world peace. I'm sorry. I know it seems crazy. I know it seems weird. I know they didn't spin it like this because they don't want people to know. All they talked about to get ratings before President Trump got in office, all CNN talked about was fear-mongering about ISIS. That's literally their entire network was like, oh, scare you. Oh, they're taking over. We got a Star Wars. They're taking over. And now they're disappearing. They don't want to tell you that news. One, they'll lose their ratings. People like Stephen Colbert and Jimmy Kimmel, they've boxed themselves in. It's like if they stop lying about Trump now, their whole network's going to go over. The only one who could tell the truth and actually make ratings is Roseanne because she's an authentic, real deal patriot. But they're such phony liars. It's like they can't tell you the truth about what's going on in Syria. They can't tell you the truth about what's going on with President Trump because they'll lose their whole network. They'd rather lie to you and slaughter millions of children overseas than actually tell the truth. That's, priorities. Like if you want to make $10 million and turn, Syria into a slave factory, that's on you. You might have $10 million. You might have all the ratings in the world. You might have a fake smile and a nice suit that you wear all the time and millions of people might love you, but you know what you're doing in Syria. You know what happened in Libya. Roseanne tried to say, do you agree with her foreign policy? And Jimmy Kimmel laughed and changed the subject because he's like, I don't want to talk about it. Let's slaughter millions of women and children. That's cool. I have no soul, so I'd rather just fake cry and lie about everything and, never tell you the truth about what happened in the Middle East. But this is what's going on. we might leave the Middle East, and we're doing so in the best fashion ever. We're not fake leaving and funding people. I'm sure that there's still some games being played. You know, he's one person, but he's going against everything. He's going against the military-industrial complex. He's going against the agenda that the Bush administration guy said, that we had a plan to go to 7 countries in 7 years and start all these wars. He's shattering the puppet installment of just killing the leader of Syria and leaving a slave factory to just, enslave the people there and just, ruin their lives and ruin their city. He's saving their whole country. He's helping their whole country. He's already done so. And if he leaves Syria, he can leave them to peace. That's what we've always wanted. That's what liberals have been talking about for 10 years. Under the Bush administration, I was saying the same thing about George Bush. Now, most people that are left-leaning, they lost their minds and they're like, World War III, more Russia, less rights, no First Amendment, no Second Amendment. Oh, I'm such a good person because I hate Trump and conservatives. No, you're not. You're a piece of shit. You're a phony. You're a liar. You're a hypocrite. You're a two-faced zombie slug, sloth, climbing a tree, trying to, take selfies. And look, I got a sloth filter on. It's not even a filter. It's just who you are. It's like an anamorph now. And I'm not saying that to be mean. I'm saying it as a wake-up call because your phony actions are like, start World War III. It makes no sense to me. It's not even a partisan thing. I don't pick sides. Why don't you make fun of the Republicans more? I will, but I'm just trying to tell you what's happening in the present moment. And in the present moment, you have a legend, President Donald Trump, a legend in office, taking all the heat, taking all the media heat, literally finding peace with North Korea, finding peace with Syria. He's the only person, Democrat or Republican, he's the only person that could have gone there and done what he's doing for Syria. So that's why I'm talking about it now. So it doesn't matter about the Republican Party. The Republican Party doesn't matter as much as what this is going on. In the midterms, vote for somebody who's going to actually do something, who has a soul, and who's not going to lie to you and pander to you, whether it be left or right. But let's talk about the White House. We have the greatest guy in there right now who's just play after play after play after play after play after play, and they're not going to talk about it. I'm pumped because this has been years that I've been trying to get them to leave Syria alone, and he's been slowly doing it. When he overturned the $1 billion secret policy of funding rebels, I was like, man, what a play. I didn't think he'd be able to do that. And now he's saying we're going to leave Syria. And they're like, well, everyone else is saying no. Notice a pattern? Trump says he's going to do it. Everyone says he can't do it. And then he does it. And then people get fired. It's not a bad thing. It's not a dictator. It's really terrible people that are just really committed to this military-industrial complex where they just slaughter leaders and leave people for extremist terrorists to just, terrorize their entire city. And Trump is like, hey, I'm kind of, an arrogant guy. I'm definitely rude and I could be mean sometimes, but I'm not like an evil demon, so I'm going to not kill women and children. I'm going to get along with North Korea. I'm going to try to get along with Russia if I can. I'm going to get along with Syria. I'm going to leave their leader alone. Bashar al-Assad, he's not a bad guy. Everybody in Syria likes him, and you can't, even if he's a little off sometimes, you can't just kill a leader and expect it to get better. That doesn't work out. That's how you start, slavery. It happened in Libya, literal slavery. In the 21st century, because of those type of policies, he's stopping that. And he's going to leave Syria, I guarantee you. We'll find out, but everyone's saying, no, we can't do it, we can't do it. He's going to do it. General Mattis probably knows what's going on. He might not want to do it either, but we'll figure it out. And at bare minimum, even if we stay in Syria for a month or a year, whatever we do, we've already helped them tremendously more. If Hillary Clinton would have won, or even someone like Bernie Sanders, I don't even know what his Syria policy is, or another Republican, none of them would have done this much stuff and would have put their lives on the line to free Syria and to stop funding rebels, okay? Because while the news is talking about stuff that doesn't matter, your taxpayer dollars are giving weapons and military aid to people that we don't even know who they are, just like President Trump says. He says, we don't know who they are, and everyone's like, you're racist. No, we don't know who they are. We're giving billions of your money to rebels, and we don't know who they are. And then they're, killing leaders and just starting civil wars and stuff. So that's why I say to be very vigilant here, because the people who lie on television, the people who don't like President Trump on a political level, this is what they do. It's not a theory. It's like their strategy. They brag about it. We came, we saw, he died. They're not hiding it. It's not a joke. It's not a conspiracy theory. They admit to your face on television all the time on the news. That's what they like to do. That when they don't get their way in a country, and when Bashar al-Assad won't listen, or Saddam Hussein won't listen, or, Gaddafi won't listen in Libya, they fund rebels. It's not a conspiracy. It's just what they do. Fund your taxpayer dollars, go to rebels, some secret programs. Next thing you know, the leader's dead and there's a complete power vacuum and nothing gets better. So that's why I say stay vigilant here. Because the same people that don't like Trump, they do that in other countries. They lost control in the United States. And what do? They fund rebels. So who are they funding in the United States? I'm not saying that they're funding equivalent of rebels, but it's such a naive thought to think that they would never do that here. Why? They don't have the puppet president in here now. That's why you should question everything. Whether it's a 17-year-old kid or, an 80-year-old guy on CNN or Fox News or Breitbart or Washington Post, you should question everything. People should question. It's an idiotic, insane idea that, it's the gospel, and if you question, you're a terrible person, we need to censor you. No, that's a trick. These people hide behind political correctness. George Carlin said, political correctness is fascism with manners, because that's what it is. Political correctness, look at the definition. It basically means lie to somebody so you don't offend them. President Trump speaks with the blunt truth. You might not want to hear it. You might not want to agree with it, but he's not hiding behind these illusions. That's what they do. He does what he says he's going to do. We're going to pull out of Syria. We've already helped Syria a lot, and I don't doubt that we're going to pull out. We're going to do this. We're going to build a wall. We're going to do these taxes. He's doing everything he said he was going to do. Other politicians, they might make you feel good, and they might talk to you if, everything good happens. But then next thing you know, they're bombing 7 different countries, and they're starting wars, and they're killing leaders, and they're lying about taxes, and everything's going up. And it's like, it's better to at least get the blunt truth, even if you don't agree with it, than to get showered in these illusion of lies. And that's what the opposition is doing now. There's a few good people like your Julian Assanges or your left-leaning people who don't agree with Trump but actually tell you the truth. They tell you what's going on in Yemen. They tell you all these other things. Those are the type of people I enjoy. But there's 99% of the people on the left, they use social justice as a disguise for tyranny, for some of the worst foul things that President Trump would never even imagine of doing. So that's why you should question it. Doesn't make you a bad person, but that's what bad people do. They hide behind tragedies. They hide behind kids. They use that to push a tyrannical ideology because they know that makes it unquestionable. If they're just standing there with their tyrannical ideology, it's not going to work out because nobody wants tyranny. So they have to use the illusions. They have to lie about it. And that's why I'm saying, at the bottom of everything, just question everything. You know what I'm saying? I would say be patient. I personally, I know a lot of people are never satisfied with what the president does, but he's one person. He's already doing so much stuff that they don't want him to do. I have patience, but also help him out. You know what I'm saying? Help him get the truth to somebody. Get someone to consider something. Just think about it a little differently. These type of things, he needs help because he can't be surrounded by 5,000 people that don't want him to do stuff. And then people will be like, oh, well, he didn't do this and he's not doing that and he didn't create a perfect, harmonious world in 4 years. Of course not. He's one guy in the middle of a swamp of like everybody who doesn't even work except for Rand Paul. So he's not going to be able to save the whole world in a second, but he's doing so much, Give him a little help, give him a little love, and at least give it a little consideration because already what he's doing, even if he never does another thing, and everybody says, oh, he could have done so much more, he's already just revolutionizing everything. He's done more in 2 years than anyone else would have dreamed of doing. It would have been an absolute catastrophic mess had a Democrat win. That's just the truth. So let's talk about it. Syria, he says he's going to pull out of Syria. He promised to do that in the campaign, and so far, it's been a little rocky. I know he's got other people to deal with, but, I know people directly in Syria. It's gotten way better over the last year. It's gone from full cities being taken over by terrorist organizations to literally being completely free of terrorists. They're almost completely kicked out of Syria. This is the best Syria's looked in years. I know that for a fact. I'm speaking directly to the people there. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing because people might not care here, but there are billions of people worldwide without clean water and sanitation. And there's millions of people who have to wake up and wonder, am I going to get hit with a missile today? So, if we really want to be social justice heroes, let's talk about Syria and let's not one-sided conversation and say, oh, Trump's working with Putin because he doesn't want to start World War III. And all the fake liberals I pay attention to, they do want to start World War III. And they've told me that if you get along with Russia, then you have to be a Russian and blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, let's have a real conversation. Let's stop silencing people. Let's stop censoring people. Let's stop throwing hissy fits and trying to get advertisers away from people because they're not saying the fake news that you want them to say. Let's have real discussions. Let's have real debates. And let's talk about Syria. We've done so much there that it deserves our discussion. Thank you guys so much for joining. My donation link is pinned if you'd like to support my news analysis. It helps so much. Thank you to people being generous. You are supplying the way for other people. I know a few people have been very generous this week and last week and, this month, this year in general. Thank you so much. You're supplying the wave, a few people really, really holding it down and allowing me to be here and make this type of content. I'm cutting it close, but we're gonna go heavy. We got big dreams, big plans. Be patient, stay humble, stay blessed, stay grateful, and we're gonna keep growing, expanding. Got the podcast, news show, news network, all these things are in the plan. It's a slow roll out. So on that note, thank you so much to people who are supporting. You're making all of this possible. Most importantly, besides resources, I have a 6-year-old computer that I use. I haven't updated my computer in 5 or 6 years. It broke. I got it fixed. It's still slow, but it works. I got a computer and a cell phone plan. That's all I have. And mostly the donations and stuff, it allows me to have time to do this because above all, money is nice and resources are nice, but I have enough. I got the phone, I got the old computer. I'm able to bang out and compete with entire news organizations and entire advertising agencies just with those two things. So, people allow me to have this time and space to create and stuff, and I'm forever grateful. I'm working harder than ever every single day. I barely ever stop except to relax and stuff, have fun once in a while. Thank you so much for giving me this time. It means the world to me. And, I take that energy and I try to give it back out to the people. That's what it's about. So thank you so much to people supporting. Thank you to people who signed up to the email list. It's a free email list. It takes 5 to 10 seconds to sign up, and then we can stay connected, especially with all the weird stuff going on Facebook. I'm not just saying that. It's like I don't know the future of what these social medias are going to do. Are they going to ban me? Are they going to block my videos? Are they going to completely collapse because they've been stealing everybody's data? Did we sign up to the terms and conditions that said they could take our data? So maybe they won't get any fine. That's what I think. I'm like, why would they get fined? We probably signed up and have no idea. But thank you for signing up to the email list. I appreciate that a lot. For booking, if you'd like to book me for a college or anything, people keep saying, Anam, you're going to come to a college? I got to get booked. Legendary.vision. That's my website. I'll post it below, and it's at the top pinned as well. Legendary.vision. If you'd like to book me for an event, a show, a debate, I'm ready to debate anybody. Right-leaning, left-leaning, let's go. Let's get the discussion. Those are the 3 things. My social media, you can find it somewhere. Thank you guys so much for joining. Have a good weekend and stay blessed.